The dating statistics for women over 60 are absolutely heartbreaking, but what researchers just discovered about male psychology might change everything. A recent study followed 1,200 women over 55 who entered new relationships, and the results were shocking. 73% experienced some form of emotional or financial manipulation within the first 6 months. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. The 27% who found genuine, lasting love had unknowingly triggered 5 specific deep feelings in their partners. These weren't the obvious things like physical attraction or companionship. These were profound psychological needs that most women don't even know exist in mature men. When these 5 feelings are authentically triggered, men over 60 become incredibly devoted partners. But when predators fake these same emotional responses to manipulate you, the consequences can be devastating. The difference lies in subtle behavioral cues that most women miss completely. What's even more surprising is that these 5 triggers become more powerful with age, not weaker. Men who've lived through divorce, loss, and life's disappointments develop these needs at a cellular level. Today, you're going to learn exactly what research has revealed about the mature male mind and how to use this knowledge to protect yourself while attracting genuine love. Now, before we jump into these 5 triggers, let me tell you why this matters so much. I'm not some 25-year-old dating coach who's never experienced real heartbreak. I'm 64. I've been married, divorced, and I've seen what happens when women our age get swept up by the wrong men. My friend Carol, gorgeous, intelligent Carol, lost $40,000 to a man who made her feel like a queen for 8 months before disappearing. The worst part? He did it by triggering these exact same psychological needs we're going to discuss today. And if you're finding this helpful, hit that subscribe button. It helps other women find this information too. Because frankly, we need to look out for each other. Here's what makes men over 60 different from younger guys. They've been through the fire. They've experienced loss. Maybe their wife died. Maybe they went through a brutal divorce. Maybe their kids don't talk to them anymore. Maybe they've been laid off from a job they thought would last forever. These experiences don't make them bitter. Well, not all of them. But they create specific emotional voids that become incredibly powerful. Think of it like this. A 30-year-old man is like a new car, shiny, but still figuring out what he needs. A 60-year-old man is like a vintage classic. He knows exactly what's missing from his engine, and when someone fills that gap perfectly, he'll never let them go. But here's the scary part. Predators study this stuff. They've figured out that women our age often have money, property, and assets. They know we're often lonely after losing a spouse or going through a divorce. They know we're more trusting because we come from a generation that believed people were generally honest. And they use all of this against us. The good news is that genuine, loving men over 60 have the same psychological needs, but they express them differently. Learning to tell the difference could save you years of heartache and thousands of dollars. I want you to think about the last man you were interested in, or the one you're with now. As I go through these 5 triggers, pay attention to which category his behavior falls into. Because by the end of this video, you'll have a clear roadmap for your romantic future. Trigger 1. The first trigger is what I call the legacy protector. Every man over 60 starts thinking about legacy, what he's accomplished, what he'll leave behind, whether his life mattered. But it's not just about money or achievements. It's about being remembered as a good man who took care of the people he loved. You see, men at this age have often spent their lives being the provider, the problem solver, the one everyone turned to in a crisis. But now, their adult children are independent. Their careers are winding down or over. They're no longer needed in the same way. This creates a deep psychological need to feel useful, protective, and significant in someone's life. When a woman makes him feel like her protector, not her father, mind you, but her partner who can shield her from life's storms, something ancient awakens in him. It taps into evolutionary programming that says his value as a man is tied to his ability to keep his woman safe. Now, here's where it gets interesting. A man genuinely feeling this protective instinct will want to enhance your strength, not diminish it. He'll see you as a capable woman who deserves protection, not a helpless victim who needs rescuing. The real version looks like this. He checks your car without being asked because he genuinely worries about your safety. He insists on walking you to your door even if it's 3 p.m. in broad daylight, because the gesture matters to him. He gets genuinely upset when someone treats you poorly, not because he wants to start a fight, but because your well-being actually affects his emotional state. He takes pride in solving your problems, but also celebrates your independence and capability. I remember my friend Janet telling me about her husband of 8 years. When she mentioned her garbage disposal was making a funny noise, he showed up the next day with tools and spent 3 hours fixing it. But when she said she wanted to learn how to fix it herself, he bought her a book on home repairs and offered to teach her. That's genuine protection. The fake version looks completely different. He's overly dramatic about protecting you from things that aren't real threats. He'll make a big show of confronting the waiter who brought you the wrong order, but ignore real concerns about your safety. He uses protection as an excuse to control or isolate you from friends and family, claiming they're bad influences or don't have your best interests at heart. He makes you feel helpless so he can swoop in as the hero, creating problems just so he can solve them. And most tellingly, he only protects you when others are watching, when there's an audience for his performance. Real protectors enhance your strength. Fake ones exploit your vulnerabilities. And ladies, if he's protecting you from imaginary dangers but can't figure out how to protect you from his ex-wife's constant phone calls, that's not protection. That's performance art. Trigger 2. The second trigger is the wisdom validator. Men over 60 have lived long enough to accumulate real wisdom, but society often makes them feel invisible and irrelevant. At work, younger employees roll their eyes at their suggestions. Their opinions don't carry the weight they once did. Their adult kids think they're out of touch with modern life. The world seems to be moving past them at light speed, and everything they learned, everything they know, feels outdated and worthless. This creates a deep hunger for intellectual respect and validation. When a woman genuinely values his insights, not just pretends to, but actually seeks his opinion and finds it valuable, it's like emotional oxygen to him. But here's the crucial distinction. There's a huge difference between a man who has wisdom to share and one who just wants an audience for his ego. The real version looks like this. He shares experiences and insights that actually help you make better decisions. You find yourself genuinely changing your mind sometimes based on his advice because it's thoughtful and well-reasoned. He admits when he doesn't know something instead of pretending to be an expert on everything. Most importantly, he's curious about your perspectives too, and genuinely listens when you share your own wisdom and experience. I had a relationship with a man named Robert who demonstrated this beautifully. When I was struggling with a decision about whether to downsize my house, he shared his own experience of making a similar choice. But he also asked thoughtful questions about my specific situation, acknowledged that my priorities might be different from his, and encouraged me to talk to other people who'd made similar decisions. His wisdom felt like a gift, not a lecture. The fake version is completely different. He lectures instead of sharing, turning every conversation into a classroom where he's the professor and you're the struggling student. He gets angry or dismissive when you disagree with his wisdom, treating disagreement as disrespect. He name-drops his past accomplishments constantly, using them as credentials to shut down discussion rather than enhance it. He dismisses your experience as less valuable than his, either because you're a woman or younger, or haven't done exactly what he's done. Here's the test. A man genuinely feeling validated will want to learn from you too. He'll see your wisdom as adding to the conversation, not competing with his. A man just looking for an audience will only want to be heard, never to listen. I once dated a man who spent our entire dinner explaining the stock market to me. When I mentioned I'd been an accountant for 30 years, he said, "Well, that's different." Different? Honey, I was doing his taxes in my head before the appetizer arrived. That's not wisdom sharing. That's intellectual bullying disguised as expertise. Trigger 3. Now we get to trigger number 3. The Vitality Reviver. And this one's sneaky because it's often mistaken for something shallow or purely physical. Men over 60 are acutely aware that their bodies are changing. They're watching their energy decrease, their physical capabilities diminish, and their mortality become increasingly real. Every ache reminds them they're not 30 anymore. Every time they struggle to open a jar or need reading glasses, they're confronted with the reality of aging. But here's what most women misunderstand. When we talk about making a man feel vital, it's not about convincing him he looks 25. It's about making him feel like he still has life force, passion, and something meaningful to contribute to the world. When a woman makes him feel alive, vigorous, and yes, sexually relevant, it's absolutely intoxicating for him. But the key word here is alive, not young. Women often think this trigger is about looking gorgeous or being physically perfect. It's not. It's about bringing energy, enthusiasm, and zest for life into his world. It's about making him feel like being around you makes him want to experience more, do more, be more. The real version looks like this. He's inspired to take better care of himself because of you, not for you. There's a difference. He starts exercising or eating better because being with you makes him want to be around longer and feel better. He becomes more adventurous and tries new things. Maybe he suggests a weekend trip somewhere he's never been, or wants to learn something new together. He talks about future plans and dreams instead of just dwelling on the past. His energy becomes infectious, not desperate. When you're together, you both feel more alive. I know a couple, Helen and Frank, who've been together for 4 years. When they met, Frank was recently retired, and frankly seemed pretty depressed. But Helen has this way of getting excited about things, trying new restaurants, planning little adventures, even just taking evening walks and pointing out beautiful flowers or interesting architecture. Frank told me that being with Helen makes him notice things he'd stopped seeing. That's real vitality revival. The fake version is exhausting to watch. He's obsessed with proving his virility rather than actually feeling vital. He constantly compares himself to younger men, pointing out how he's better in some ways or making disparaging comments about kids these days. He needs constant reassurance about his attractiveness, his performance, his worth. He tries to buy vitality through expensive toys, clothes, or experiences. The classic sports car, the too young wardrobe, the extreme adventure trips that are more about showing off than genuine enjoyment. The real test? A man genuinely feeling revitalized will want to share that energy with you and build something together. A man just trying to prove something will exhaust himself and you in the process because his vitality is based on performance rather than genuine enthusiasm for life. I knew one man was faking it when he bought a motorcycle to impress me, then asked me to drive it because his back hurt. Sir, that's not vitality. That's a midlife crisis with training wheels. Trigger 4. The Companionship Craver. This isn't about not wanting to be alone. It's deeper than that. Men over 60 have often spent decades being strong, being the provider, being the one everyone else leans on. They crave a true companion, someone who walks alongside them as an equal partner. The real version. He wants to share experiences, not just have someone present. He's comfortable with comfortable silences. He values your thoughts and includes you in decisions. He creates we without erasing me. The fake version. He's terrified of being alone and clingy. As a result, he needs constant entertainment or validation. He wants a companion for appearances, not connection. He disappears when you need him, but expects you always to be available. Here's how you know it's real. He enjoys your company even when you're not at your best. Fake companions only show up for the highlight reel. Martha told me about her boyfriend who only wanted to spend time together when she was dressed up and ready to go out. When she got the flu, he suddenly had to visit his sister in another state. Honey, that's not a companion. That's a part-time accessory. Trigger 5. The final trigger is the significance seeker. Every man over 60 is wrestling with the question, did my life matter? They want to know that their presence makes a difference, that someone's world is better because they're in it. This is the most dangerous trigger because predators exploit it ruthlessly. They'll make you think you're the answer to all their problems while positioning themselves as the answer to yours. The real version. He adds genuine value to your life. He feels significant because he contributes, not because you need him. He encourages your independence while being interdependent. His significance comes from giving, not taking. The fake version. He creates problems he can solve. He needs you to be broken so he can feel needed. He measures his significance by how much you sacrifice for him. He withdraws affection when he doesn't feel important enough. Ladies, a man seeking genuine significance will make your life bigger. A man exploiting this need will make your world smaller. So how do you protect yourself while still being open to love? First, the timeline test. Genuine feelings develop gradually. If someone seems to trigger all 5 needs immediately, be suspicious. Real connection builds over months, not weeks. Second, the consistency check. Watch for consistency between public and private behavior. Real men don't turn off their devotion when no one's watching. Third, the independence test. A man genuinely experiencing these triggers will encourage your independence, not undermine it. If he gets threatened when you're strong, he's not the one. Fourth, the money rule. Never ever let financial entanglement happen before these feelings have been tested by time and conflict. I don't care how generous he seems or how much he claims to love you. And if he asks to borrow money in the first 6 months, run. If he asks for your social security number, sprint. If he wants to move in to take care of you before you've even had your first fight, call the FBI. Now, how do you authentically trigger these feelings in a good man? For the legacy protector, let him help, but don't become helpless. Appreciate his strength while maintaining your own. For the wisdom validator, ask genuine questions about his experience, then actually apply what you learn. Share your own wisdom too. For the vitality reviver, bring energy and enthusiasm to the relationship. Try new things together. Celebrate life. For the companionship craver, be present, be real, be yourself, especially the parts that aren't perfect. For the significance seeker, let him know specifically how he makes your life better, then show him you're doing the same for his. But remember, you can't trigger these feelings in someone who isn't capable of feeling them genuinely. Don't exhaust yourself trying to wake up someone who's only pretending to sleep. Look, dating after 60 isn't easy. We have more baggage, more caution, and frankly, less time to waste on people who aren't serious. But understanding these 5 triggers gives you a roadmap, both for recognizing genuine love and avoiding calculated manipulation. The 27% of women in that study who found lasting love, they weren't prettier, younger, or wealthier than the others. They were just better at recognizing authentic emotional connection. You deserve someone who doesn't just want you around. You deserve someone who can't imagine their world without you in it. If this helped you, please share it with another woman who might need to hear this. Subscribe if you want more real talk about love after 50, and let me know in the comments. Have you experienced any of these triggers? Did you recognize the real versus fake versions? Remember, gorgeous, you're not too old for love, but you're definitely too old for games.